Brande. Hey, congratulations on your new film, Wineville.
Thank you so much, Gig. I appreciate it. Yes, very exciting.
You know, these type of films are those guilty pleasures that we love to watch on a Friday and Saturday night, especially on the night like this tonight for Halloween. So,
Yeah, it's the perfect night to watch Wineville.
so tell us, how did this project actually came about with you?
Well, it started because at the tail end of COVID, there were no movies being made. They were very, very far and few between. And there's a lot of us actors out there, right? So if I wanted to be working, I was going to have to create my own project. So that's kind of how it all started. And I had a friend or have a friend who owns the Galliano Winery in Southern California, which is the oldest winery in Southern California. And he said, if you want to shoot a movie at my place, you can. So that's kind of how it all started. And I knew that I was going to be one of the characters and that my son was going to be one of the characters. And I knew that I wanted to do horror genre because that's what I know the most. I love horror genre. I grew up on it. My whole family are like horror freaks, Halloween freaks, all of the above. And so that's kind of where it all started with the characters, the location, and I can't say what type of storyline because it's one of the plot twists, but with that in mind, created a really sick and twisted, demented movie.
So this idea was conceived with the location and then everything else. Tell us about bringing Richard on board to craft the story.
Um, Richard was referred by a mutual friend, and I was so excited that he was interested in coming on board because he, has done so many amazing award-winning movies, including horror movies as well. And so to have him come on and write the story, I was just really excited. And I loved collaborating with him, coming up with the story. He and I work very well together. I feel like we both have the same sick mind. We're both a little twisted. And when we went back and forth, we really agreed about 95% of the time. And the other 5% of the time, uh, we would come up with a mutual, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the word. We would mutually come up with something that we were both happy with. So, it was a great collaboration. I really enjoyed working with Richard.
Most excellent. So, out of the pandemic, did the decision for you to direct also came out during that time? I mean, this is your feature film directorial debut.
Yeah. Yeah, it just kind of happened naturally. I mean, that wasn't the original thought, honestly. It wasn't that, oh my gosh, I want to direct. It was that, oh my gosh, I want to act. So it just kind of the natural progression happened. And Richard, being the amazing director that he is, said, I'm I'm there, I'll be there, 24/7 every step of the way. And, he was my mentor and I learned from, one of the best. So I was very, very lucky.
So, how was that overall experience for you?
Um, it was very rewarding, although very grueling at times. Because as you can imagine, when you're wearing all the hats and juggling everything and trying to be in character, but yet um, direct and produce and put out fires and all of the things, it's a lot to do everything, but it is a labor of love. And as hard as it was to make, I loved it just as much.
Now, I want to say one of the most difficult things is the fact that you had to direct, produce, and act in your own film. Tell us about how you directed yourself. Are you the worst critic on set?
Um, No, because, and you'd think so, because it happens a lot, right? People act like, oh, I can't see myself on camera or whatever it might be. But no, I was really able to um, put myself outside and really look at it from whether it was a directing point of view or a producing point of view or an actor's point of view, it was easier for me to um, separate everything. So it actually, it was fine. When I was acting and then I'd be done. I'm like, okay, now let's do this. Or, a fire would be thrown at me. Like somebody just spray painted their eyes and, I'd have to run and get them to the emergency or, SAG's on the phone. We got to do a Zoom with them. Okay, I'm going to leave you and now I'm going to go over here and then I'm going to jump back in this scene. It was nonstop with stuff like that happening. And I kid you not, it really was one thing after another. But with whatever was happening in that moment, I was able to put on that hat. But you're always wearing, I think, a producer hat at all times.
Well, you know what? That's very how can you say it's very nice that you actually managed to accomplish this, but you also have your son in this film,
Mhm.
and I want to say this is what your son's second time to be on screen. How how
Yeah.
how did you want to approach directing your own son and acting with your own child in this film with Keaton?
Well, the way that we did it is really preparation. So I had him meet with my acting coach, Sandy Marshall, and worked with her before we even started the movie. So months in advance, he started, with every scene, working and breaking it down with her so that by the time we went to shoot, he was prepared, ready to go, and knew what he was doing. And I already knew how he was doing it because watched them work together. So he was ready to go. And it was also written in a way by Richard, and that was going to be easy and conversational for him. So that was very helpful. It also is helpful that most of the scenes are with me. So it's just us talking and how we would talk and you know, with the exception of, look at the map, like now it's look at Waze on your phone, like, with just different dialogues, but it still is very conversational how he and I would be talking and conversing. So that made it really easy.
It's kind of funny because the old Hollywood saying is never work with kids and animals. Do you find it working with your son to
It
make
was
this
so
kind of
easy. It was so easy. And people say that all the time about Keaton, that, you never know when you're going to watch a kid in a movie and how they're going to act, and especially low budget. And everybody's very impressed with him and his acting, and he's very professional. He's wiser than his years. So it was a piece of cake. And I loved having my sidekick there with me at the end of the day because a lot of the times we would stay on set and spend the night in the RV. So it was kind of fun having him there, and it was very easy, not difficult at all.
well said? Tell us about the rest of your cast. I mean, it's such a I want to say everyone looked like they were having a lot of fun on this project.
Well, I know Carolyn was Hennessy. She loved creating this character. She was so perfect for this role. She really brought it to life. She even did things that were not even scripted, that just came out of her, that were so brilliant that every time we were watching the camera, we were like, oh, that's great. That's perfect. Just she was just so good. And Texas Battle, was so great to have a seasoned professional who has done multiple horror films, multiple action films, because in this film, not only is it horror, there is a fantastic action scene between him and one of the other characters. So it was great getting someone that knows stunts, that can do stunts. Um, Casey King, a new up and coming actor who I believe is going to be a huge star. He just has that star quality. We were just so lucky with our cast. Everybody's good. This is a low budget film, but you would never know it. Everybody in it and everybody that did the sound, the composing, the practical effects, the visual effects, everybody are top-notch blockbuster people, but on a low budget film. It's just, I was so lucky. Everybody's fantastic.
Now, this film is set in the 1970s. Could you tell us about the decision why you wanted to do it at this time period? Because this story could have easily taken place at any decade.
Well, that's how it was written. It was written to be present day. And then Richard sent it to one of his big time filmmaker friends. And he read it and he came back to Richard and said, this movie lends itself to being a film in the 70s. And Richard called me and I was like, oh, yeah, he's right. When we really thought about it, we're like, this could be really cool. So I love the idea, but I had to call some of my other producer friends and ask them, hey, how much will this cost me if I decide to make this a period piece? And, went through everything and I was like, okay, it wasn't going to be a whole bunch more to do it, period. So I said, let's go for it. I want to do something different. I've been wanting to make this something spectacular. And I think this will push it over the edge by making this a 70s piece. And it's so funny because right after we were done, or no, during filming, X came out, that 70s piece. I'm like, wait, someone just did it, so the idea is out there that people were starting to bring back some of these period, this feeling and this nostalgia of horror films.
As a independent budget film like this, was the props hard to actually get? Like the cars. I mean, I even laughed that there was a landline, which I found in one of my old cabinets itself.
Yeah, oh, that's funny. Believe it or not, the cars were all family and friends. We didn't, I take that back. The one car we had to rent was the sheriff's truck. Other than that, and we had like we had 6 or 7 cars in there. We were just really lucky that between all the family and friends, we had period cars from that decade. And as far as the set, again, the where we shot, really had a lot of it was already old, right? I mean, everything was already kind of in a period piece as, the location. But to bring in everything else, we had Fernie Fernandez, who is a fantastic set designer, and he came in and just, brought in everything and just gave it that feel to top it off. So we really had top-notch people working on this. And, you had to catch things. For example, in one shot, going up the stairs in the hallway to Tess's bedroom, there was a modern thermostat. When I say modern, it was in the 80s. So I was like, oh, we can't show that. That's the one thing my friend told me. If you're going to do a period piece, everyone's going to try to get you. They're going to try to find something that is not from the 70s, that's going to be current. So I made sure I was looking at every little thing. So I feel like I caught everything except in post. The one thing that I think it was Richard that noticed is there was a fire extinguisher in one of the scenes. And he said, I don't think that's an old fire extinguisher. I think that's a more current one. Sure enough, we did all of our research and looked up all these fire extinguishers, and it was a current fire extinguisher. So we had to have our special effects guy, our visual effects guy, take that out and take out the fire extinguisher. So I think we finally, that was the last thing. I think we caught everything, but you really have to look at everything.
Well, it sounds like you had an enjoyable experience. So
Yeah.
let me leave with one last thought here, because I always like to ask, horror filmmakers this question, because there's always been a debate between practical versus, CGI,
Yeah.
effects in these type of films. And obviously, you used a lot of practical effects
Yeah.
in this film. Tell
Yeah.
tell us about which side you usually land on when it comes to that debate.
Always practical. 100% practical because the real horror fans want practical. That's the one thing that I always, I do tons of horror conventions. I've been doing them for 20 years, and that is the one thing that they all want is practical effects. Did we have CGI? Yes, we had to definitely have CGI. There were things that we had to, like the fire extinguisher digitally get out, and there was we needed to add blood in certain scenes and what have you. But 100% practical for sure, I think is most important foundation for a horror film.
Well said. And is there a chance for more horror directing down the road with you?
I mean, my book of ideas and movies and shows, I'd love to say there's more comedy and exciting things, but it's just all demented, sick shit. I mean, my head, I don't know where or why I come up with this stuff, but yes. The long answer is yes. Definitely have a lot of fun new film script ideas.
Well, it definitely showed here in Wineville. So, Brandy, thank
Thank
you very
you.
much for speaking to us.
Thank you,
It's
kid.
been a pleasure.
Thank you. And I just would love to tell everybody to go to winevillemovie.com to get an autographed copy of the DVD. If somebody wants to get an autographed copy, which has all the bonus features, the actor auditions, the behind the scenes, which is all very exciting. And then also that's also where you can get all the links to Amazon and Apple and everywhere to watch it.
Well said. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, and let's do this again on your next
Yes.
film. Thank you.
Sounds great, Kate. Thank you.